So you look down at your wrist. You're wearing this incredibly advanced piece of technology, right? It's tracking your steps, your heart rate, and lately, it's even tracking your sleep. Which begs a massive question that so many of us are asking right now. Can that Apple Watch actually detect sleep apnea? I mean, are we literally carrying a tiny sleep clinic around on our wrists? It's a fascinating kind of detective story, and we are going to get to the bottom of exactly what your tech can and absolutely cannot do.
Look, here is the immediate, honest truth right up front. It's a signal, not a verdict. Yes, the Apple Watch can definitely help flag possible sleep apnea patterns. It is fantastic at gathering clues at the scene of the crime, but it cannot act as the final judge. It simply doesn't have the ability to diagnose the condition all on its own. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this. We're going to dive in and directly compare the Apple Watch against actual medical testing for sleep apnea screening. We're going to completely demystify what your smart device is actually seeing while you're asleep and help you figure out how to use that data responsibly for your long-term health. Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the big question, understanding sleep apnea, finding clues, not conclusions, watch versus home test, and finally, red flags and next steps. All right, part 1, the big question, screening versus diagnosing. You know, the absolute most crucial point is right here. Awareness is not a diagnosis. The Apple Watch has become an incredible tool for tracking our sleep. It can spot patterns that suggest a problem, which is totally amazing for early awareness. But raising suspicion is an entirely different universe from getting a confirmed medical diagnosis. Your watch can record how long you slept and how much you tossed and turned, but it can't definitively tell you if you have obstructive sleep apnea, central sleep apnea, or honestly, just a really bad mattress.
Moving on to part 2, let's take a look at the culprit, understanding sleep apnea.
So what is it? Sleep apnea is basically a condition where your breathing repeatedly slows down or completely stops while you're sleeping, often for short little bursts that you might not even notice. The core issue here is an airway interruption. And when you think about it physically, it becomes instantly clear why a device sitting all the way down on your wrist might struggle to measure a mechanical failure that's happening inside your throat.
And guys, this isn't just about snoring. The long-term impacts are super serious. Over time, those repeated breathing interruptions lead to dropping oxygen levels, highly fragmented and just all-around poor sleep quality, severe daytime energy loss, and massive overall health risks, including things like high blood pressure. Because the consequences are this heavy, getting an accurate, undeniable assessment isn't just nice to have, it is absolutely critical.
Which brings us to part 3, finding clues, not conclusions, the detective work. So what indirect clues is your watch actually looking at? Well, depending on the model you have, it's tracking overnight movement, patterns of sleep disruption, heart rate trends, and for some of the newer ones, blood oxygen trends. It takes all that data and looks for unusual changes that tend to align with sleep apnea. But remember, it's basically piecing together a puzzle from the outside. I absolutely love this comparison because it perfectly frames the technology. Think of your Apple Watch like a smoke alarm. A smoke alarm is fantastic, right? It tells you there might be a fire, it wakes you up, it alerts you to danger. But a medical sleep test, that's the fire department. They actually show up, find the exact source of the fire, and put it out. You wouldn't rely on just a smoke alarm to save your house, would you? And this brings us to the biggest limitation of the technology by far. Wearables cannot measure airflow directly. A medical sleep study measures every single airway event. Your wearable just doesn't. And what that means is you could have clinically important sleep apnea, and your watch summary might tell you that you look absolutely fine. Real, dangerous apnea could easily go completely unnoticed by your wrist. Plus, those indirect clues we talked about, they are highly susceptible to signal interference. Movement and heart rate spikes can definitely be caused by sleep apnea, for sure. But they can also be triggered by stress, or having a few drinks before bed, fighting off a cold, or simply sleeping twisted up in a weird position. This proves exactly why these devices are incredible trend trackers, but honestly terrible definitive diagnostic tools. All right, part 4, the ultimate showdown, watch versus home test. Let's break down how they stack up, because this really brilliantly illustrates the line between suspicion and confirmation. If we look at their main roles, the watch is your screening tool, while the home test is your diagnostic support. The watch is tracking indirect sleep patterns, but the home test, it's getting direct breathing data. Can your watch actually diagnose you? No. Can the home test? Yes. Now, the watch is incredibly easy to wear every single night, whereas the home test is slightly more involved, but it delivers the hard medical data you actually need. Because of that fundamental difference, we really have to avoid a very common and potentially dangerous trap. A normal watch report does not mean everything is fine. Please do not let a clean score from your wearable give you a false sense of security if you're still feeling terrible during the day. Wearables are simply better at pointing to a problem than proving exactly what the problem is. And that leads us right into our final section, Part 5, Red Flags and Next Steps, your action plan. I want to slow down for a second here, because this point is deeply, deeply important. Regardless of what your text says, these are non-negotiable red flags. If you wake up gasping or choking, if you suffer from severe, crushing daytime fatigue, if you wake up with morning headaches, or honestly, perhaps most importantly, if a partner tells you or elbows you in the middle of the night to let you know that you stopped breathing, your human symptoms must always override your tech. So let's see how this builds into a really solid, responsible 4-step game plan. First, use your watch to track your sleep for at least 2 weeks to establish a good baseline. Second, actively note your human symptoms, the snoring, gasping, or fatigue. Third, compare those rough nights with lifestyle factors like alcohol or late meals. And finally, if that pattern keeps showing up, step 4 is absolutely non-negotiable. Get a real sleep evaluation. And when you hit that point where symptoms keep repeating and your watch keeps flashing warning signs, you need a real solution. That is exactly where a service like CPAP home sleep testing comes in. It allows you to move from just having a suspicion to getting actual answers. It gives you a highly reliable way to check what is really happening at home without depending on wearable trends alone. Clarity matters so much more than guesswork here. So I want to leave you with this one final thought for today's explainer. Will you let your symptoms be the final judge? Your Apple Watch is an incredible first clue, right? A brilliant smoke alarm for your health. But when your own body is sending you distress signals, it's time to stop guessing. Prioritize how you actually feel over tech trends and take decisive action for your sleep and your health. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack all this, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.